What if I told you that the breakthrough you're waiting for doesn't come from more motivation, but it actually comes from more discipline? Now, hold on for a moment before you stop listening. Discipline is not a dirty word. Discipline isn't glamorous, it doesn't trend well, it's not flashy, but it is the difference between a life full of what ifs and a life full of results. It's the unshakable commitment to do what must be done regardless of how you feel. And when we exercise discipline, it is the one principle that unlocks health, wealth, leadership, relationships, and purpose. It's not a mystery, it's not a secret. And the best part is that anyone can become disciplined. So today, I want to help you use it. Not someday, not when you feel like it, but today we want to begin to use discipline because discipline is the master key that unlocks possibilities. And in a world full of distractions, listen, the person who is unshakable and disciplined, that person is totally unstoppable. I was thinking about this the other day when back in high school, every staff member had a key, right? The math teacher had a key to the math room. The gym coach had one for the gym. The lunch lady had her set of keys for the lunchroom and the kitchen. Everyone had keys, but only in their own area. Now, if you wanted to go somewhere in the school that was outside your zone, you had to ask someone who had access to that place. You couldn't just walk in because you didn't have a key. Now, there was one person who always had access to everything. You know who that one person is. Back then, we called him the janitor. Now they call them the engineer, but the person is the same. It is the person that had what was called the master key, the one key that could open any door in the whole school. Didn't matter if it was the library, the boiler room, the office, the locker room, they had access to it all. And the crazy part, I started thinking about this, I started thinking that's exactly what discipline is in our lives. Discipline is the master key. You want access to better health? That door is locked without discipline. You want to get your finances in order? Doors locked without discipline. You want to grow spiritually, lead your family well, build something meaningful? Locked, locked, locked. But hear this, only without discipline. And you already have the master key. Yes, the master key is on your key ring. You don't have to wait for someone to hand it to you. You don't have to get approval or wait for the right time. You just have to use it. And when you start using discipline, doors start opening. Back in college, we used to play this card game that is called spades. And we used to play it a lot. Like, we were very serious. I mean, we would skip writing papers and stay up all night to just see who would win the spades tournament. And really, just so we had the bragging rights that we were the best spades players on the hall. I know, stupid in college and not being so bright. But if you've ever played the game of spades, you know the setup. There's four players, there's two teams. Each team tries to win a certain number of tricks each round. You had to play the highest card to win that trick. And the thing is, though, the reason it's called spades is spades is always the trump suit. That means no matter what else anyone else played, whether they played hearts, whether they played clubs, diamonds, if someone played a spade, that card wins. Now, the part of the game that is somewhat unpredictable is that you could have an ace of hearts, which is the highest heart. It's your turn, You lead out with that ace, and you're betting on that ace to win that trick. You're going to win that round. That's what you're betting on. You're feeling good. The next player's laid down their cards. Here comes a heart. Another card comes a heart. They can't beat your ace. But then the last player just simply lays down a two of spades. And you have just lost the round because you've been trumped by that unimpressive lowest number of the deck, a two, but because it is trump, it wins every time. That's what discipline is. It's not flashy, it's not exciting, it's not always loud, but it shows up and it wins. Now, motivation, that's the ace of hearts. It looks powerful. You feel really good holding it in your hand. But listen, the minute life throws you resistance or obstacles at you, it loses every time to discipline. That two of spades is what represents discipline in your life. It doesn't look like much, but it's consistent, it's reliable. It's not, listen, it's not about how strong it looks, it's about what it does. It wins. Discipline wins. You don't need the perfect mood to get started. You don't need music that's hyping you up. You don't need a great quote to get you motivated or the right day to get moving. You just need to play the card. Listen, the people who win in life, they're not always the most talented, the smartest, the most motivated. They're just the ones who decided, I'm going to play my two of spades today. And then I'm going to play my two of spades tomorrow. And then I'm going to play the two of spades again the next day because discipline wins. Let me put it in these words in a comparison of motivation between discipline. Listen, motivation is signing up for the gym on January 1st. Discipline is still showing up on February 14th when it's cold, your body aches, and no one's cheering you on anymore. Motivation is saying, I should spend more time with God. Discipline is actually opening up the scripture at 5:30 in the morning when the emotions aren't there. Motivation is watching a Dave Ramsey video and swearing off debt. Discipline is skipping that Amazon purchase, packing your lunch, and saying no to treating yourself. Motivation is buying that $30 planner and a brand new set of highlighters. Discipline is actually writing in it on Tuesday when life is all chaos and you've already lost your momentum. Motivation is watching a YouTube sermon and feeling inspired. Discipline is writing your own message on a Thursday afternoon when you're tired, behind, and your spiritual tank feels empty. Motivation is dreaming about being a better spouse. Discipline is actually listening when it's inconvenient, forgiving when it hurts, and staying when it would be easier to walk away. Motivation is hearing a podcast and saying, this week I'm going to change. Discipline is making the call, taking the risk, and pushing through when nothing changes. Because motivation gets excited, discipline gets results. Motivation is the ace of hearts, flashy, powerful, but discipline is the two of spades. It doesn't look like much, but it wins. Listen, anybody can feel fired up for a moment, but the ones who grow, lead, build, and finish, those are the ones who act when the feelings fade. Motivation is a mood. Discipline is a mindset. And when you master that mindset, you will become unshakable. So yes, discipline beats motivation every single time. But let's be real. Just because it wins doesn't mean it's easy. Discipline hurts. It asks for sacrifice. It demands discomfort. It interrupts comfort zones. And it has a pain that always whispers this question: is it worth it? But here's the part that we don't always see right away. There's another pain waiting in the shadows. It's not loud, it doesn't show up in the moment, but it lingers. It follows you home and it shows up late at night. It's the pain of regret. See, life is full of pain. That's a given. The question really is, which pain will you live with? Imagine life like two paths. One is rocky, one is steep, it's uncomfortable. That's the path of discipline. The other is smooth, easy, convenient, but at the end of that easy road is a toll booth called regret. And the price you pay there is way more expensive than an early morning, a skipped comfort, or a temporary struggle. I love how Jim Rohn put this. He said this: we must all suffer from one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. So, yeah, discipline hurts, but regret haunts. Discipline is uncomfortable. Let's just say that out loud. Discipline is uncomfortable. It's waking up early when your body says no. It's saying no to that impulse buy, that extra scroll on your phone, the easy option. It's pushing through the resistance when no one else sees it. And in the moment, listen, in the moment discipline's happening, it hurts. But here's what I've learned: the pain of discipline is temporary, it fades, it sharpens you, it leads somewhere. But the pain of regret, oh my goodness, the pain of regret, it stays. I'll never forget a conversation I had with my uncle years ago. And he told me about this new tech company that I'd never heard of at the time. It was early, stock was cheap, and he said, you might want to buy in. It's got great potential. I thought about it. I hesitated. I didn't act. Later, that company was sold to Oracle, and that stock that I could have picked up for not very much began to be worth much, much, much more. And every time I think about that moment, that hesitation, that pause, that I'll look into it later, I feel the weight of regret. And it's not just about the money, it's about the what if. It's about knowing I could have done something about it, but I didn't. And that's how regret works. It's quiet at first, it doesn't scream, it just waits. And then one day it shows up and whispers, what if you would have just done it? What if you would have just stuck with the workout? What if you would have just started writing that book? What if you would have been intentional with your spouse instead of coasting? What if you would have said no to that distraction and yes to the dream? See, discipline asks for a moment of pain, but regret asks for a lifetime of wondering. And I'd rather wake up sore than wake up sorry. I'd rather feel the sting of discipline than the weight of wishing I had. Because discipline hurts, yes, but it also builds. Regret, it just takes and it takes and it takes. So if you're feeling the pull today, the internal battle between what's easy and what's necessary, choose the pain that leads somewhere. Discipline is the only pain that pays off. So now that we've talked about the pain of discipline and how it can protect us from regret, let's talk about what happens when you actually stick with it. Because here's the good news: discipline doesn't just protect you from pain, it builds something. It's the beauty of what I call the compound effect of discipline. Think about it in money terms for a minute. If you invest $1,000 into a savings account and it grows by 5% a month, and you make $50 that first month, the next month you don't just start with 1,000, you actually get to start with 1,050. And then that 1,050, if it grows by 5%, then you're gaining more. And so you're starting with even more the next time, and more the next time, and the next month, and the next month. And every time you grow faster and faster, month after month, not because you did more, but because you stayed consistent. That's how discipline works. You're not just showing up for today's gain. You're building momentum for tomorrow's harvest. Let's say you commit to walking 20 minutes a day. At first, it doesn't feel like much. You might not even break a sweat. You won't see a difference in the mirror. The scale might not move. But what you are doing is casting a vote for the person that you're becoming. And over time, that 20-minute walk leads to healthier choices. Your mindset begins to start shifting. Your energy begins to improve. And before you know it, you're not just walking anymore, you're running. Same with relationships. You don't fix a marriage with one "I'm sorry." You don't build trust with one big date night. You build it with small deposits that you put in: a kind word here, a daily check in there, a little act of service done over and over and over again. But that's where most people miss it. They want results now, but the most powerful transformations, they're stacked slowly. Listen, being occasionally disciplined won't change your life, but being consistently disciplined in small things, that will begin to change everything. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about momentum. And when you stack disciplined days, just like interest in the bank, the results compound over time. That's why the small stuff matters. That's why starting, even if it's small, is a win. You may not see the harvest yet, but underneath the surface, the roots are growing, and you keep showing up, and you keep casting the vote. You keep playing your two of spades, and eventually you win. You ever play with dominoes as a kid? Now, I'm not talking about the game where you're slamming down bones on the table. I'm talking about it. Have you ever taken dominoes and you set them up in a row, and they're close together, and maybe you make a straight line, maybe you kind of curve it around, or on AGT I saw this just craziness with dominoes, but you've got them all, they're right together, they're sitting like this, and then the next one's here and the next one's here. And if you've ever done that, then all you've got to do is just knock the first one over, and dominoes begin to fall all the way around everywhere you've set them up. And there's something about that first domino. Feels small, feels insignificant, but once you tip it, it sets everything else into motion. That's how discipline works. You might think this one action just doesn't matter. It's just a workout. It's just one prayer. It's just one putting my phone down at the dinner table to be present. But you're not just doing one thing. You're starting a chain reaction. When you wake up early to spend time with God, you start the day with peace instead of panic. When you start the day with peace, then you lead your family with clarity. When you lead with clarity, you make better decisions at work. When you show up better at work, you create more margin in your finances. And it all started with one domino. And that's the wild part. You don't even have to start in the area that you're struggling in. You can get discipline in any area and it'll start to affect the other areas of your life. Get consistent in your health. You start to think clearer. Start tithing or managing your money well, you'll feel more confident. Start putting your phone away at the dinner time, your relationships begin to flourish. Why? Because discipline is the master key. It's the one domino that affects the rest that follow. Small disciplines done daily create unstoppable momentum. But the key is you got to start. You can't just look at everything, all the 99 dominoes you haven't hit. You just push the one over. You just show up today. So let me ask you a question. What's the one domino you can knock over today? That one simple action that, if done consistently, could start a chain reaction in your life. Don't underestimate it. You don't need a new life plan. You need to just tip over the first piece, because here's what I know. When you move the one domino in the direction of discipline, everything starts to shift. And you know what's interesting? A lot of people think discipline is just about willpower. Like grinding harder, want it more, no excuses. And that's part of it. But what if discipline wasn't just something you muscle through? What if it was something deeper, something spiritual? I believe discipline isn't just a character trait, but it's actually a gift. One of my favorite scriptures says this: God has not given us the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power, love, and self-discipline. That's fascinating to me. Most people talk about the power. Most people, yay, power. Others focus on love because, yes, love changes everything. But that last one is usually skipped over. The last one is self-discipline, but I think it's just as important. And if you think about it, the power to stay consistent, to stay focused, to build something when nobody's cheering you on, that's a divine gift. It's not flashy, it's not Instagrammable, but it might be the one thing that holds all the other things together. And one more. The first time that I read this, it just really hit me. It says this: no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Yet later it produces a harvest of righteousness, peace for those who have been trained by it. Let's be honest. Discipline isn't fun when you're in it, but that later, that harvest, that's what we're building toward. Peace, strength, confidence, wholeness. So maybe you're listening today and you don't really consider yourself a religious person. Listen, that's okay. I want you to consider this. What if the consistency you're craving, the focus you need, the breakthrough that you have been chasing isn't just about trying harder, but about tapping into something deeper, something bigger than you, something better than burnout, something unshakable? I believe that's where real discipline comes from. Not hype, not hustle, but a source that doesn't run dry. Well, we've covered a lot in today's episode. That discipline is the master key, that it beats motivation every time, that pain is guaranteed, but you get to choose which kind of pain you live with. That small actions stack, and that one domino pushed over can change everything, and that real discipline doesn't just come from within, it comes from a deeper place. But listen, none of that means anything if we don't act. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one thing that you've been avoiding, that task, that habit, that decision. You know what it is. Don't wait for motivation. Don't negotiate with your feelings. Just choose discipline. Play your two of spades. Do the thing, start the thing, finish the thing. And if you're someone who's looking for more than just self help, if you're craving a source that's steady even when life isn't, and maybe it's time to explore God who gives you power, love, and discipline. Because discipline isn't just about building a better life, it's about becoming the kind of person who can handle it. You don't need to change your whole life today. Just tip the first domino. Be the one who shows up, the one who does it anyway, the one who becomes unshakable. Listen, I believe in you. Let's get it done. Well, hey, that's it for this episode of the Unshakable Edge. If this resonated with you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone else who needs to hear it. Stay focused, stay disciplined,